Welcome to Fellowship Power Lunch's rollout for Veterans Appreciation Luncheon November event, November 16th at the Embassy Suites Hotel in Frisco, Texas. Today we have the great pleasure of being honored with our featured guest, Dave Roever, and founder of Fellowship Power Lunch, Lisa K. Gurney.
Yes.
Dave Roever is a symbol of American patriotism, American resilience, and American strength. His military awards are many: Purple Heart Medal, Navy Unit Commendation Ribbon, National Defense Service Medal, Vietnam Service Medal with 3 bronze stars, Republic of Vietnam Meritorious Unit Citation, Republic of Vietnam Meritorious Unit Citation First Class, Republic of Vietnam Campaign Medal with 1960 device. His civil service awards are Honorary Doctorate, an Outstanding Civil Service Medal from the United States Army, and he's also an author, a proud and lucky husband of his beautiful wife Brenda, and he's this year's feature speaker at the 3rd Annual Veterans Appreciation Luncheon on November 16th in Frisco, Texas at Embassy Suites Hotel. Dave, it's a pleasure to meet you.
It's my pleasure, boss.
Awesome.
Nice to be with you, Miss Lisa K.
Yeah,
I'm happy to be with you. I don't get to be on with Miss America very often.
Oh, quit.
I mean it. You're
Thank
just
you.
beautiful. I'm glad to be with you today.
Thank you very much. We're thrilled to have you. It's
Thank
an
you.
honor.
It's
Yeah.
my honor, ma'am.
Yes.
I look forward to the luncheon. It's going to be a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things that I don't get to do often that makes me kind of look forward to it because it's out of the box, you know.
Mhm.
So it's going to be a lot of fun.
And it's close to your hometown. in
Yes.
Frisco,
I,
Texas.
I get to be at home that day.
It's actually our third year celebration for our Veterans
Yeah.
Appreciation event. Very honored. It's a moving experience every year.
Well, I look
We
forward
will
to it.
continue to do
One of
that.
my best friends was your speaker last year, and I'm excited about that. That I get
Yes, Mr. Brian
to follow
Fleming.
Brian.
Yeah, yeah.
Dave, let's start off by sharing a little bit about yourself, a snapshot of your military career and the journey you were on.
Yeah, I was not groomed to be in the military. No one in my family's ever served. I'm the only one. Not that they didn't want to. My dad actually volunteered. He worked out here at what was later called General Dynamics and now Lockheed Martin, but then it was called a Convair. And he worked building the overhead monorail that to this day, F-22s and F-16s, all those are manufactured on that monorail. My dad installed that during World War II, and they wouldn't let him serve because it was a critical position in a civilian job for the sake of the war. When I was drafted, it wasn't because I was military, let's call it a military prize. I was a fat little overweight preacher's kid. But the reason I got drafted was my grades were below sea level. So I literally was drafted in the Army. It was not one of those, what they call, where you spin the thing and you pull out the Powerball. It was not one of those lucky numbers. It was Uncle Sam wants you and you're going to serve. It was before the lottery. And so I took my physical, and I laugh and tell everybody it's the only exam I passed that whole semester. I got no plus on the blood test, duh. And they told me I was going to be included in the Army, inducted, and I didn't want to serve in the Army. So if I'm going to serve, I'm going to serve in the Navy, and that's why my grades were below sea level, so I served in the Navy. I joined the Navy, and I ended up thinking that I was going to become a submariner, submariner. I ended up in the riverine warfare of the Vietnam, the highest killed in action per capita group in the entire war. I was on a little fiberglass riverboat and was injured there twice in 1969. Yes, that's back before most kids think the War of 1812 occurred. But it was yesterday for me and Chuck, who he's a Vietnam veteran, the guy behind the cameras here. But you served, and you know what it means to serve. It's a huge commitment, and it has the potential of costing you your life. And it almost did. Pert near killed me. And but I'm glad to be alive and on this set with you, Miss Lisa K.
Yeah, and to be able to tell and share your story.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Mental faculties. I do not have Dane Bramage. I thought I'd share that with you. actually to have the mental fact, I'm 74, but I'm going on 50, and 50 is the new 30. I just thought I'd share that with you.
I agree.
And if you're in the Common Core math, I'm
Totally
21 and getting younger. You can be anything you want. You can lie on Common Core and love it. So I guess to answer your question or to finish your statement about my military career, it was almost accidental,
Yeah.
almost inadvertent. But I believe God had a plan for my life, and it included Vietnam, it included suffering, but God did not shoot me. He did not set me on fire. God did not hurt me. God does not do evil. God is good. And the follower of that is all the time. So he's not good part of the time. He's good all the time. And I don't want you sitting there watching this saying, wow, look what God did to him. No, look what God did for me. He took me out of the worst possible situation. And I'll share some of that when it's appropriate here in a minute. But it's impossible. It is absolutely impossible that I'm alive today. But all things are possible through Christ. And so I'm here because God, not Dave. I'm not tough, but he is.
Awesome,
Oh,
Dave. You know,
amen.
I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Okay, so in some of your speaking engagements, you talk about some of the physical and mental struggles that you went through in your journey in that bank in Vietnam that you talk about in some of your speaking engagements. Okay, what do you think's more difficult to overcome, the physical or the mental part? And
The emotional is far more difficult than the physical. And physical's pretty bad because from my waist up, I was burned. My legs were burned very, very minor compared to the rest of my body. I lost half my skin. 60 pounds of flesh went up in smoke.
Wow.
60 pounds.
Oh,
And it only took seconds. I was 190 pounds that morning. When they weighed me that afternoon in a bed that evening, they took the weight of the bed out, and I weighed 130 pounds. And the doctor said that it all happened within seconds because I wasn't hit by a fragmentation grenade. I was holding a white phosphorus grenade, and I was in exactly this position right here. And a bullet went through the back of my hand. A sniper shooting at my head missed, and it hit my hand and blew the grenade right here. That's why everything not covered, everything that's not covered was blown off. If it wasn't blown off, it was burned and charred, and you could break it off, turn to charcoal instantly. Everything covered was burned by my clothing, but the blast went by my face, and my left hand was elevated, took my thumb off, including that, which they made later. And you can see I have no fingertips, no fingerprints, because the blast got everything here and down my arm. And my head shadowed this part of my arm, the backside, but everything exposed got burned. And then from the waist up, my back, my hands. I went blind in my eye. I went deaf in my ear, and you can see it's artificial. And I got to tell you, 5 years ago, not quite, but about 5 years ago, I had surgery number 50. And in the last 5 years, I've had 10 surgeries. I've had 60 operations. And only count operations where they put me to sleep for more than 2 hours with 3 or more doctors.
Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of my threshold. If it's not serious enough to reach that, it's just a procedure.
Yeah.
But 60 operations. And my ear is the only thing I wouldn't let them make real again. They made my nose, which I'm so proud of. It's a boy. It's cute, isn't it?
That's cute.
I got him 4.5 years ago. He's just a little guy. I got eyelids. I got my lips back. My mouth was inverted, and I drooled a lot. And my ear was blown. Everything was gone. Well, I said, leave the ear plastic. I love my artificial ear because I have a lot of fun with it. I'm going to leave it with y'all in a suitcase when you leave, see what y'all say about me when I'm gone. But I was preaching one night in Jamaica years ago. I was mentored by Billy Graham. We shared board members for 20 years. And I spoke in all the big crusades whenever, for 9 years, I worked with him, reaching military and schools. And then I'd get to speak one night in the crusade for 20 minutes on Monday night. Well, it's really I was in Jamaica, about 10,000 folks gathered that night. And I was speaking and my ear fell off and I didn't know it. It was laying on my shoulder. I'm speaking and they're not talking and they're not breathing. They're doing that sucking air like a Hoover, eyes big, pointing at me. And a man's got to do what a man's got to do. I checked my fly because I didn't know what was wrong. Something's not right? Well, I look around, my ear was laying on my shoulder, and I picked it up and stuck it back on. They thought it was a miracle, and they all got saved that night. So who am I to tell what God ought to do with a plastic ear? And you're probably sitting there saying, that guy lost more than his brain. Let me tell you something. I mean this all my heart. I literally feel like I laughed my way out of hell. and I'm going to laugh my way through those swinging pearly gates. Because the joy of the Lord is my strength. I'll laugh in the face of the enemy. I tried to take me out. Did everything he could. He wanted to kill me. He took his best shot. I'm still here because no weapon formed against me can prosper. And greater is he that's in me and us than he that's in the world.
That's awesome.
So I'm here because God's tough, not me. I'm just a wuss. Yes. I'm a crybaby. I got a tender heart, and I don't want to lose it.
You and I will get along great.
Well, honestly, my military career was very short, but today I work for the Department of Defense, and I've done more travel and more years with DOD as a contractor than I did as a fighter, a warrior in Vietnam with Navy Special Operations.
That's awesome. Well, one of the things that, and, I know what the kind of work you do with the DOD, with, the DOD, and I used to host a series, I don't know if you know this now, but I used to host a series called Man, the Secret Resilience to Lead, right? And I know you work with the meaning of resilience.
Yes, I'm a resiliency trainer in the Comprehensive Soldier Fitness Family Program for the military, all 4 branches. And I put family fitness program because fitness is included, families included in the Air Force branch of our use of the whole program. They add the family where the Army does not, but it's inclusive in the Army too, but just stated in the Air Force. And I'll make that distinction so people that are watching that would understand I'm being very honest about my role. They called me the second week after 9/11. I got the first call. And that second week, I left, and I've really never gone back. I've done 6 tours to Iraq, 2 to Afghanistan, multiple tours. I can't even count the times in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Afghanistan, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Bosnia, Kosovo, North Africa, South Korea, Japan, Okinawa, you name it. If there's troops there, they send me there. And I'm 74, and they're still sending me. I just got back from JBER, it's called, Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson in Alaska, just 2 weeks ago, and Special Operations Command Pacific at Pearl Harbor. They send me because it's not what I'm not, it's what I am. I'm not tough. I'm not good looking. I'm not smart. I was in the top 10% of the lower 1/3 of my class. I've majored in math and found out 5 out of 4 people don't understand fractions.
Yes, right?
And if you're in my class, you understood what I just said. But that's what I do for the military, and I train from my experience, and that's where I needed you, where you wanted me to go. I need you to hear that. I train from my experience, and I'm believed to be the first trainer in the Comprehensive Soldier Fitness Program for DOD. I think I'm the first one, and a lot of the curriculum was built off my experience.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, I'm going to talk about somebody that's close to your heart, and speaking of resilience, it's the suicide bombing survivor, Brian Fleming. He credits you for putting him on the path of sharing his personal story with many companies around the world. What is it, or what was it that you saw in Brian when you met him in the hospital, and why was it so important for you to play an active role?
Well, when I saw him in the hospital, I didn't see him. I saw a mummy. He was wrapped from head to toe, walking around like this. And I was not there to speak to the troops. I was there to speak to the staff, which are troops too. But I wasn't there to speak to patients.
Wow.
And so the commanding general brought in all the staff that were not on duty at that moment. And I had the whole staff later. And as I was walking in, I saw this young fellow standing there all wrapped up, and just his eyes were visible. And I said, "Who are you?" He said, "I'm Brian Fleming." I said, "Well, don't stand here. Come in, listen to what I got to say." He said, "Well, I didn't know if I was invited." I said, "You're invited. I'm in charge." So I said, "Come on in." And I said, "By the way, I'd like to bring you to my ranch in Colorado for my first session we're doing for our wounded soldiers." And I said, "You're invited." He said, "How much does it cost?" I said, "It doesn't cost anything." He said, "Where is it?" I said, "Colorado." He said, "When?" And I told him. He said, "Free is good." That's exactly what he said. Free is good. So I brought him in. Kind of find out his wife's mother attended my father's church. His wife's mother and his wife knew me. And when she told him that, when he was over in Japan, I mean, in Korea, before he was injured,
Mm-hmm.
they were dating online, and he said, "I know." She said, "I know that man that you have that little. It's a little booklet that Marvel Comics did on my life. The artist at Marvel Comics, Marvel couldn't put its actual name on it, but you look at the artists, it's all their names. They did this beautiful book, and he was telling her. She said, "I know that guy." He said, "No, you don't." She said, "Yeah, I do." She said, "No, you don't. You don't know this man." He said, She said, "I know him." And whenever he was injured, she ended up at his bedside in the same hospital, doing the same thing my wife did at the same age, on the same month of the year, same day of the month of the year, but different year. Different year, same month.
Wow.
In July, just different year, many
that
years
was
later.
so meant.
And our parallel was so amazing.
Oh,
and
my gosh.
Brian is one of the smartest and finest, and she is a darling
Yeah.
girl, just a precious girl.
She is.
And they have the sweetest kids. They don't deserve those kids. They deserve everything God gives them. That they are the sweetest couple, and I'm so glad that what I saw in Brian was underestimating what he really was.
Oh.
And I saw nothing but good.
Oh,
That's
man.
awesome.
He's a good man, and I look forward to seeing him again at the
And you
prayer breakfast. What do you call that again?
Fellowship Power Lunch,
Fellowship Power Lunch. I
Lunch.
got to remember that because it's new. 3 years old,
6 years.
6 years old.
Yeah.
Man,
Almost
you guys.
6 years
I hope
old.
every one of you that are watching can come. Is it
Yeah.
open to the public?
Yes.
Everyone.
Yes.
Bring your dog. Have fun.
We met you through Brian Fleming, and
Ah.
Brian Fleming was our guest speaker for Fellowship Power Lunch, Veterans Appreciation, November 2020. You know, we almost did not have that event because of COVID.
Yeah.
And what special happened is so the end of August of last year, I decided to launch it after I had a meeting with some of our relationship commanders, and they all said, "Lisa Kay, if we have the courage to enlist and fight for our country, we don't give a damn about COVID." And from that moment on, we launched, and in 4 days, we had sponsors. So that
Fantastic.
all we had to do was invite our veterans and their spouses to come join us.
That's because you walk by faith, not in fear.
That is right.
Lisa Kay, I admire that about you.
And you too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Lisa, you have questions?
Yeah. So I'd like to kind of touch note. You've been married to your sweetheart for a lot of years.
Almost 54 years.
My goodness, that's so unusual in our
Yeah.
in our time in society today. I'd love for you to share.
Let
on
me
that.
just tell you that I had to fight to keep her. I met her when I was 16. I asked her to marry me. She was 13. She slapped me and said, if I loved her, I'd wait for her. I said, I'll pick you up at 10. She didn't like that. And she said, but I'm only 13 years old. I said, but you have the body of a 14-year-old. She didn't like that. That's a TMI. Too much information. But I had to fight to keep her because whenever we did get married, her co-worker at Allstate tried to take her away while I was in Vietnam, tried to steal my wife. I got even with him. I bought State Farm. I did. And then after I was injured, my medic tried to take her. Right on the ward that I was on, he tried to take my wife with me. I got even with him. I feigned I was dying one night, and as I was mumbling, he got his ear close enough to hear what I was saying. I bit him. I did. I bit his ear, and I told him, if you touch her, I'll kill her. I scared him so bad he didn't come back.
So there was more war than what you were in.
That's
It was
right.
the war on your wife.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then I got out and went to college with my wife, and her professor brought her flowers. I thought the student brought apples, but no, the professor brought flowers. And then he saw me one day and figured if I lived, the other guy didn't, so he didn't mess with me and left her alone. Then the fourth guy, and I'll stop with the fourth guy, he came along. But he made promises I couldn't keep, and he unlimited wealth actually. He gave her gifts I couldn't afford, and he really wooed her, and he took her. He took my wife, and I got his name, and I got where he lives. And his name is Jesus. And he took her to a place called heaven. I'm going to go there. But I want to see him first. I mean, he's the reason I want to go. But she's the next best reason. We almost made 54 years, but we got an eternity to be together. And I look forward to the opportunity I can tell you, don't ever lose your hope. Don't lose your faith. And if you lose your spouse, have hope in the future, because you're never alone. God's been with me every day since, and I'm here today to tell you I'm doing good. And I'm glad you asked, because I miss her. She was my little scab picker. She kept me alive when the doctors gave up. and she stayed with me almost 54 years. I'm glad I could talk about her a minute.
Yeah, me as
Thank
well.
you for sharing that with us.
Yeah. Rush, I'd like to wrap this up
Yeah.
with Fellowship Power Lunch.
Sure.
So thank you for joining us. Fellowship Power Lunch. Fellowship Power Lunch is going on 6 years old. We are a monthly motivational, inspiring luncheon the third Tuesday of every month at Crest Infinity Frisco. Our Fellowship Power Lunch Veterans Appreciation November event is also always the third Tuesday in November. This year it's November the 16th at Embassy Suites, Frisco. You can go on fellowshippowerlunch.com, register, general public, register veterans and your spouses. It is complimentary to you, veterans and our spouses, in honor of your service for us. And we are in need of more sponsors to continue this growing. So please fill in your heart if it's necessary. Also tithe. Sponsor. We love you. We thank you. Have a great day.